The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're webcasting to you live from the Center for Autism and Related Disorders headquarters in Tarzana, California. It's Wednesday. I love Wednesday because on Wednesday we start with Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh for a segment we call Ask Dr. Doreen, and then in the second hour we have Nancy Jackson here for Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. We have a very special guest during that second hour today. Coach E, Elaine Hall from the Miracle Project will be with us in that second hour. But first, yippee, I'm so excited. We have Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh here with us, and she's going to be answering your questions. Before we get to that, I want to remind you that this entire show, from beginning to end, is meant to be interactive. We want to hear from you. We want you to participate. You are a part of this family, and we want to know what you want to be talking about. So Emily is going to show you some of the different ways that you can participate and some of the ways that you can be watching the show. I'll remind you that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, lots of things to see and do there. But we really want to draw attention to, if you want to watch the live show, you click on the little triangle that's on the computer screen, or you can click on the playlist icon that's up in the upper corner of that computer screen to scroll through and see what the most recent episodes are. To the side, there are two white boxes. Put your cursor in the bigger white box, start typing and hit enter, and your question will be sent through cyberspace to us here with a slight delay, about a minute and a half. We want you to know that that's completely free. There is no login. It's completely anonymous. We try to make it as easy as possible for you to be able to have your voice heard in this format. So send your questions to us. Now, if you do want us to get back to you about something, let's say that you ask about a recent study and you want us to send you the link to it, please make sure that you put an email address or a phone number or a way that we can get in touch with you in that contact. We will not share that with the audience at home. We want to keep your information private, of course, but it is a way in which you can get your thoughts across to us. You can ask questions, whatever you want. This whole show is meant to support you, to help you to get progress. So please use that feature to your best advantage. Also, while you are on that homepage, please sign up for our free newsletter. We've got some exciting things coming for you in the newsletter, some ways to save money. You know what I'm always saying, if we can save you time and money, then I'm a happy camper, right? So sign up for that newsletter and please let others know about that as well. All right, it is time for Ask Dr. Doreen.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
Welcome to Ask Dr. Doreen. Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is here with us. Welcome and good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. What a beautiful shirt. I love that color on you, Shannon.
This is my new favorite color. It used to be green,
beautiful.
but I'm all about the blue these days.
It's very pretty.
Well, thank you. And you've got your own blue on. You've got your card shirt on.
My usual card shirt on, yeah.
We love that. That's a good color for
Thank you,
too. So thrilled to have you here this morning.
It's
because
a pleasure.
You are a true expert in the field of autism, and you are a visionary in the field of autism.
Thank you so much.
You give us hope. You make us excited. I was just, for the viewers at home, I was just showing Dr. Granpeesheh Jem's report card from this last year. He just finished 5th grade, and I was saying to her,
doing so well.
but we owe this all to you.
Well, not all to me. I always say I'm really blessed to be in the job that I have, but it's because of our kids, and it's really just helping them uncover the things they're able to do.
Well, you make such a difference in this world.
Thank
We
you so
all
much.
We
Thank
are
you
all so
much.
grateful to you.
Thank you
and
very
she's
much.
here right now to answer your questions. Be a
Yes.
part of this. And we want to make sure that everybody knows at the start of the show that no one, even though you are a brilliant expert and you are a true visionary in the field, no one in this format can give child-specific, individual-specific advice.
Right.
It wouldn't be fair to the individual. But having said that, you really help to enlighten us so that we can make better choices, that we can figure out what the next step is in trying to get to that progress, and we appreciate that.
Thank you very much. I hope we just are able to give our viewers a different perspective or some guidance on things they could consider.
Well, you absolutely do that. So I want to jump right in and get to some questions here. Hi, Dr. Doreen. I have 3 kids, twins who are 3.5, boy and girl, has autism, and a 23-month-old boy.
Right.
The boy with autism, knock on wood, don't want to jinx him, sleeps through the night, but the other 2 monsters keep waking up. I adore you, the other 2 monsters. Is it safe to give them tranquil sleep? Please, I need my sleep. Bless her.
I wouldn't. You have to be careful with kids under 2 in general. So I wouldn't. The 2-year-old is probably the tough one.
Yeah.
Why don't you contact the company that produces Tranquil Sleep, and they have a physician who will talk to you more about that. Melatonin is something we produce, so it's not a dangerous substance. For a small child, I believe up to 3 milligrams, which is 1 Tranquil Sleep, is okay. That's what it says. When my kids were younger, like 3, 4, I used to give them half if they needed it, and especially it was very helpful when we traveled overseas. So I can't recommend that you do that. I would suggest that you do consult with the physician who actually produced Tranquil Sleep. And see, but let me just say that I have done that with my own children as young as when they were, like, let's say 4 or 3 or 4. Okay. So, but below 2 is, you got to be kind of cautious with what you're doing.
So contact the manufacturer.
The physician, yeah.
Okay.
And I'm glad that you're using it, which means that it probably helps you, and it's,
Very good. Absolutely. And I find it wonderful and ironic that it's the child who's on the spectrum who's sleeping through the night. Who sleeps. And I love that we're knocking on wood for you for that continues.
Yes.
Okay. So then we had another question that came in. I'm from Fort Myers, Florida, and my son needs speech therapy and an increase in other early intervention services, but I'm told that they do not have enough staff to comply. I also called a company, but they said first availability for a visit would be in February. And I mentioned this on the show yesterday that we would have you talk a little bit about this, because CARD is getting ready to open an office in Florida, but in that area. But in the meantime, I know you're doing remote services there.
Yes, we are. But I also know that, so we're doing remote services, which means that we will assist with supervision and hire staff locally for you so that we can start helping some of the children there. The issue right now is that with Florida, with the lack of funding there, we're trying to help the parents by getting our Medicare approval there, Medicaid approval there, and yesterday I signed some paperwork, which is kind of, I think, the last thing that I have to do. So I think we are there. I would really highly recommend that you contact our expansion or remote services department. And that is John Galley is the director of that department, and he is a spectacular human being who wants to help everyone in any way he can, and he's just a fantastic guy. I'm very, very lucky to have him here at CARD, and I really recommend that you try to email him, j.galley, G-A-L-L-E, j.galley@centerforautism.com, and he can give you some information about where we're at in that process.
Okay, very good. Next question, and again, this was one that I mentioned yesterday that we were going to save for Dr. Granpeesheh today. Hi, and thank you for your awesome show. My son is 4 and recently started scripting a lot during different times, including when we ask him questions he knows how to answer. It's usually scripts from movies and iPad games, including the card app, like Put with Same. I said to Emily, he's quoting you, because I don't know if everybody knows, that's Emily's voice. Our Emily that we talk to all the time.
Right.
Emily's the one that is in that app. She multitasks.
Yeah.
Anyway, they want to know, can you give me ideas to help him with this? So scripting.
Yeah. It's funny because we were just talking about that yesterday with Ryan Bergstrom, Ryan. So the basic protocol for this is very simple, is to ignore the scripting and to have communication with the child that's more appropriate. So in other words, to converse, but when it turns into scripting, you ignore it. It's hard for parents, and the perception, the way you have to kind of look at it is that the child's trying to interact, but they don't have the appropriate words to interact, and they've learned something memorized from TV, and they try, or from something else, and they just want to, it's so funny. I remember when I was really little, very, very little, this was before I went to school. So I was, I don't know, 2 or 3 or something. There's millions of pictures of me sitting, and I had my own books, notebooks, and I was writing, and the writing was all scribbled. But I would just go on. So I would do this for hours. I'd like write scribbles, and there were whole notebooks full of just scribbles. And I don't remember it, but I've seen pictures of it, and I think I just got a sense of satisfaction because it made me feel all grown up or something, and I was like writing a book, whatever it was. So it's similar in that way. I think our kids are scribbling verbally.
Right.
They're trying to talk, but they can't differentiate because they hear the sound of language, but they don't understand it so well until they maybe repeat it 100 times or something like that. So they're just trying to, they don't understand why it doesn't apply to this scenario. So the intervention for this is quite different depending on the level of functioning of your child. So if it's a child who really understands, I would approach it by teaching the child why it's inappropriate to script. If it's a child whose level of comprehension is really not there yet and they're just repeating, then it's considered delayed echolalia. So they're just basically echoing something they heard in a different scenario. And as I said, the intervention is to planned ignoring. You really ignore that, but then you increase the interactive type of dialogue with the child. And a lot of times you need to actually give the child scripts to replace these scripts. So for instance, you give the child appropriate scripts, which would be like, "Hi, how are you? I'm fine. How are you?" That's a script, and but it's a socially appropriate script, and so you just replace the kind of like dialogue from TV or from one of our apps or something with something more appropriate initially, and then the child kind of understands that there's certain scripts that are okay and others that are not.
Okay. Really interesting.
Later on, we always teach our kids also things like thinking versus saying. There's a lot of different interventions for this.
I always am struck, too, that as a parent of a child on the spectrum, that when things come out of sequence for us sometimes our child is doing something as a 4-year-old that if we saw in a 2-year-old, we wouldn't panic.
You would be happy.
Right.
Yeah.
But because I always think that because we came to it later, if we're going to learn something, we're going to skip some of the steps that the kids went through it too. And I'm always struck by the fact that we don't really. That there are kids who will just repeat and babble when they're younger, whether it's a script from something or just something, and we don't panic about it. But we tend to, as parents, when it's a little bit later.
Yeah, of course, because it stands out.
Yes.
If you think about the behavior of children in general, doesn't matter, typically developing kids, it's weird. The behavior of children in general is just strange, right? Like they're running around, screaming, poking each other, pushing, throwing stuff, you name it, right? But because they all do it, we know that it's what we did too, and you'll grow out of it, right?
Right.
With our kids, you freak out because you're worried that, oh my God, why is my child doing that? None of the other 4-year-olds are.
Yeah. Well, I think
That's
you
what
just
it
hit it
is.
on the head too when you said we know they're going to grow out of it, and as autism parents, we don't know that.
Yeah, that's
we
the
don't
thing.
know that we're going to get to the next phase.
Right.
We're afraid we're going to get stuck there. Okay. Really good.
And ABA actually helps you set limits for the child so that they do grow out of it.
Yes.
It's sort of like pushing the child out of that, delayed age and saying, nope, it's time to stop this and now go on. You got to keep going until your age.
Yes, fascinating. Yeah. Okay, we've got a special education teacher of 3-year-olds. She says, as a special education teacher for 3-year-olds, I would like to know how I could get training or info on ABA that I can use in my classroom, as 8 out of the 12 children I worked with this last year are diagnosed with autism. I would like to work online on my own time. I am in the New Orleans area. And she did include a email address so that we could get back to her. Yes, absolutely. Could we clone her?
Oh, I love you.
Because somebody who asks that question, see, this to me, that's a good teacher. A teacher who wants to learn and is interested in learning.
Somebody who's a teacher who has that many children with autism in their classroom, who's watching our show, bless you.
Yes.
You already are my hero, like good teachers make all the difference. Yes, thank God, fortunately, we have IBT, Institute for Behavioral Training, and it is ibehavioraltraining.com. And please go on that site. There's a whole section for teachers. Just go in as a teacher and you'll see a ton of modules that will train you on everything and anything you could want. And if you would like consults in addition to that, we can provide that as well. So please contact IBT if you need anything. These modules are really inexpensive, very, very affordable, anywhere from $7 to $12 for a full module. Once you pay for it, you can just watch it on your own time, review material, you'll see videos, you'll see all sorts of stuff in there, and it'll help, I hope.
And not only that, I'm sure that they would love your feedback once you do the training about what kinds of things you want more of, what was helpful, what might have been better.
They're in production. As you know, they're continuously producing new videos. And I would also, if you need face-to-face time, we do have an office in Baton Rouge. So, please feel free to contact our location in Baton Rouge, and we have a very senior supervisor there, Dr. Kat Minch, and she would be able to consult and help you in any way. And your school district should also be willing to fund ongoing workshops and consultations from CARD. We've done that for many years for many districts.
I also want to suggest that she take a look at skills too.
Yeah, absolutely.
As an educator,
you'll enjoy skills, obviously, because IBT provides the training, and thank you for bringing that up, Shannon. Skills provides the curriculum and the home, because skills has so much in there. IBT will train you on our techniques, and skills will give you tools, for instance, an assessment that will help you identify the specific areas of deficit for each child. The BIP builder, which will help you, and CIFA together will help you identify the function of any challenging behavior that any of your children show, and how to treat it, how to deal with it. We'll show you all that. Skills, of course, has a massive curriculum where any deficit is linked into the lesson that you need to teach, and these are written also for teachers with IEP goals and so on, so that you can definitely implement them. So once you have the techniques and the how-to from IBT, skills is the what to, and together you can absolutely take care of all of these kids. It's a hard job having that many children at once that you're dealing with, so that's why I'm saying bless you, because I'm not sure I could do it.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But I do want to say too, because I'm a former teacher, and about skills, so often a teacher, you get the children at a certain age.
Yes.
And you gain a certain proficiency at teaching skills at that age.
Yes.
And the skills that are appropriate for that age. And frequently you get a child, I call them the Swiss cheese kids, that they come in and they know some things, but they got a hole here and they got a hole here.
Yes.
And you have to teach the curriculum, even at 3, you have a curriculum that you have to teach, but there are holes there. How do you teach around that? And what often happens is that a teacher goes to the teacher at the phase where the hole starts and says, what do you have for me? And it's a really exhaustive process. And in each child, it's individual. What skills does is it helps to catch any child up developmentally wherever they are, including if the child is 2 and they're behind 6 months.
That's right.
So that you can plug that child in, and it spits out, here are the things that would be great for this child.
Yeah.
It's really remarkable shortcut that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's absolutely well said. Thank you.
So I would encourage you to take a look at that. And there's even a 14-day free trial that you can examine it, play around with it, and see what it is. There are so many things and skills that to do, whether you're a parent or a teacher or practitioner, so many different ways. It's as a tool.
Yes.
It's really a tool belt.
Yes, absolutely.
I love it. So, and then write to us and let us know how you're using the different things and how they're helping you. We love to hear back about that.
Yeah.
We love to get feedback back. Okay, we should take a break. We've gone on quite a while, and I like to give Dr. Granpeesheh a break from time to time so we don't work her into a hole. Anyway, keep your questions coming in. We'll be right back after this message.
Hello, activists. Here we are at step 10 of autism empowerment. I like to call this the 3 L's. Live in the now, love thyself, and laugh. First, live in the now. We have to stop on occasion to remind ourselves to be present. Because as autism parents, we're constantly planning ahead for our children's future. We miss the joys of the present moment. Don't miss out on your child's childhood. Catch the joy as it flies by. Love thyself. Never beat yourself up. And forgive yourself for the things you wish you'd done or the things you think you've done wrong. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Eleanor Roosevelt said that. Be a good role model of self-esteem for your child. It affects them. And finally, don't forget to laugh. Despite all the trials and tribulations in this world of autism, it is still a beautiful world and often a very funny one. I try to surround myself with friends and family who make me smile and laugh every day. Heard any good jokes lately? Pass them on. Until next time, keep the faith.
Welcome back to Ask Dr. Doreen. We're so lucky that we are here with Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh, and she is answering all of our questions in real time. I can't tell you how much I appreciate this.
It's my pleasure.
I get to learn at the feet of the master. This is very exciting to me.
Thank you.
And I get to learn from the questions that you guys write in. So thank you for being a part of this discussion. Want to continue on with some questions. This is an interesting one. Why does the regional center say they don't vendor with card? I'd like to know the answer to that. That's what I was told how many years ago when we went to our first meeting. And don't get me wrong, I love and appreciate the regional center because without them we wouldn't have gotten the treatment we did. But I had to fight to get card.
I know. I've been vendored with all the regional centers, I think since 93 or 1992 or so. So it's a pretty long time. Was that almost 20 years? Over 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, over 20 years. So it's either because they have new staff who has not been trained well or doesn't know, or it's because they've been told specifically not to recommend you to card. And the reason for that is that card tends to, we're vendored with the regional center, which means we essentially are supposed to be working for them because they're paying us for you, for your child. And so, but we are also licensed and clinicians and have to be ethical, and I've stood by that from the very first moment that I started receiving vendorization and funding from the regional centers and any other source, insurance as well. There are organizations that feel that if they give you money, you'll do whatever they tell you to do. And that's not the case with us. We're very, very ethical here. And if I find that I want a child to have a certain number of hours because that is the right thing to do, and if I want that treatment to continue for a certain period of time because that's what scientifically is proven, then I will fight for that family and I will tell the family what's appropriate. No amount of money can alter that. So I think those are some of the reasons we tend to be seen as we just have a school district right now who we're in a fight with because they actually slandered us with the school board of education, saying that we are our program is not quality enough, and we've followed up with this over and over and over, and now we find that it was two reasons. One is that we had legal intervene because the school district owed us over $100,000, so our lawyers got involved. That's one reason. They literally wrote this in their response to us, that we don't want legal involvement. And the second was that we don't fade off our kids, which is really interesting because these are adults. They're not kids. The ones that are in treatment with that school district, they're like 16 to 18, 19, and they're older individuals who need continued intervention, and they expect us to kind of exit the field, and we're not going to. They just need to continue to fund for these, because, you know, sometimes people don't realize, Julie Cornack said this to me yesterday, and it's such an amazing statement, is that medical necessity definition is the child has to always improve, you know, but sometimes you don't realize that if you stop therapy or reduce therapy, maintaining skills drops.
Yeah.
So maybe the child isn't improving as fast as you want them to, but they're maintaining, which is also extremely important. So anyway, long story short, those are the reasons that people tend to just alter the facts and tell you we're not vendored. We are vendored. It shouldn't be too hard to, shouldn't be a massive fight anymore. Please tell our admissions department. Okay. Call our 800 number and tell admissions. Alan Ganther, who runs admissions, is a wonderful gentleman, and he will take this information and let me know, and then I will have our lawyers write a nasty letter to the regional center who told you that.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the truth is that as you said, CART is a vendor for the regional center.
And it's hard. I mean, we have to play both sides, and we have to maintain that vendorization as well, because we've been threatened multiple times that they will drop our vendor. That's what happened with the school district. You know, they dropped 8 families. 8 families because we had a lawyer call them up and say, you need to pay your balance. 8 families who are all, of course, now going to do hearing. Yeah. Due process hearing.
Unbelievable. So. But, you know the truth, stand by the truth. That's what worked for me.
Yes.
The person stood there and said, I wrote CARD. They said, we don't vendor with CARD. And I said, yes, you do. I know you do. They said, no, we don't. I said, yes, you do. I know you do. And then she said, well, you'll be on a 2-year waiting list. And I said, that's okay. She said, you have to put something else down. I said, no, I really don't. And I ended up with CARD. So you just have to stick to your guns and know the truth. And you don't have, as she said, you don't have to expend a lot of energy, but just know the truth, stand in your truth. And
that's very good to know, Shannon.
It'll work
out. And that's the regional center you dealt with is one of my best regional centers because of Dr. Youngbarrow being such an amazing person.
He just wasn't there on the day that I was there.
He's just a terrific guy.
He is fabulous.
He really has every positive intention. Sometimes it simply is the care worker or caseworker that you're dealing with is not informed, doesn't know, whatever. Yeah.
But again,
keep with it.
Stick with it. Okay. I love this comment question. My ASD daughter is driving me nuts. She is now telling me that mommy can't wear shirt and pants, that I need to be wearing a dress. She also is verbally insisting that she can only now wear dresses after I bought her a bunch of new shirts. And, you ready for this? I'm thrilled. She says, I may be one of the few moms out there that loves that, but this is what's driving me nuts. And she says, thank you, Dr. Doreen and CARD. I'm guessing because the fact that you're having, as an autism mom, what I appreciate is you're standing there having an argument with your daughter about what she's wearing, and that is kind of cool. Huge.
It's very cool.
It's huge.
It is cool. I love it. I'm guessing why this is happening also. I'm guessing that she's rule governed, which means someone taught her a rule, or she figured out a rule about what men wear and what women wear. And the rule is that women generally are the only ones who wear dresses, and she took that rule and generalized it incorrectly to mean women only wear dresses. Oh. So, find out if that's the case, and if it is, show her a lot of pictures of women wearing pantsuits and whatever else. And I think with some dialogue you can alter her reasoning with this. But I love the fact that she has an opinion about it, and that she's telling you this.
But she's speaking about it. We always talk about, because, Temple Grandin is all about kids need to be polite. It's important to be polite. It's important how you present yourself. And, that's a very big deal to her. And when we had her mom on the show, I said, did you really instill those values? And she said, here's what's funny about that. It may have come up once.
Yeah.
And she said, you can ask my other kids. But that's what Temple grabbed onto and thought was important. And it became a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
But she said, no, we didn't drill manners at all.
That's interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah,
I just found that fascinating. In any case, moving on. Somebody wants to know, just wondering, what is the difference between perseveration and echolalia?
Oh, echolalia is repetitive, stereotypical behavior that involves echoics. So essentially you will hear something and then repeat it, and it will be ongoing, so it'll be repetitive. So for instance, a lot of times when, you don't see so much of this anymore, when in the 80s or so, a lot of kids would have echolalia, and it was, you'd say anything and they would repeat it exactly. So, for instance, I'd say, you'd say, touch my nose, and they'd say, touch my nose, those types of things. Delayed echolalia is if they heard something, earlier in the day and now they're repeating it. So scripting and so on. Perseveration or perseverative behavior is the continuation of something that you're doing or saying, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're echoing someone else or imitating another sound. You're just persevering or, staying on some behavior for too long of a time.
And you can't let it go.
You can't let it go. You can't shift to something else.
Okay. Now, our mom with the daughter who wants mom to wear dresses has written back and says it's a picture thing. She put a smiley face. She says she likes to draw, and with drawings, you differentiate boys and girls because the girls wear dresses.
That's right.
It's true.
And that's exactly what it is. So you can also, there's many other ways you can differentiate boys and girls. So you might want to in drawings. So one is long hair. That's another one. And I would recommend that you teach a lot of these, because otherwise it will become a series of rigid rules. It's important for her to be able to, from photographs, identify different women and men. This is actually a really hard thing. It's very interesting. So long hair is another one. The objects they carry are other things, like purses and so on. The jewelry is another thing. So I would alternate those things so that your daughter, like for instance, will allow a picture of someone who's wearing a pantsuit, but then put earrings on it, for instance, and long hair, and say, is that a girl or a boy? So let her identify. This is called over-selectivity, because you're focusing on one aspect, you're over-selecting. You're looking at a picture which has multiple facets, but your child is over-selecting to just what the item is, the object is wearing, or just what the stimulus is wearing, and that is identifying the whole meaning. That's not correct. So you need to reteach this, so that you need to broaden it and then generalize it. I did my master's on over-selectivity, and I had pictures of parents, and the child would learn mom and dad touching, receptive, and then we took the pictures and modified them very slightly. In those days you didn't have Photoshop or anything. So you actually had the parents modify, and you took slightly altered pictures. So for instance, dad would put on glasses, or mom would change their hairstyle, that sort of thing. And it was unbelievable, because even though they had learned the exact stimulus, which was that, just with glasses, they couldn't identify it anymore.
Interesting.
So yeah, so when you memorize a visual based on various just small features of the sequence or of the stimulus, you make a lot of errors. Because if that one small section changes, then you think it's a whole new stimulus. And that's what's happening. If the person is not wearing a dress, then you think it's not that stimulus anymore. It's not the woman anymore. It's a man now. Okay. So you need to broaden the stimulus control. You need to say, okay, they could also be wearing pants, but look, has earrings and these features. It's hard. These days, it's harder to teach this than it was 30 years ago.
Well, yeah, because the rules are so much different. And I'm just thinking about it in terms of the social rules that we give our children. If they have any rigidity, it's hard.
Oh, it's absolutely
really hard.
I think there are certain things that still remain. Like, for instance, jewelry. Jewelry is really very male or female.
Yeah.
It's very, like, for instance, what are you wearing today? Like, you wouldn't see, you actually would. Maybe the wire or something you would. But I mean, you wouldn't see, for instance, those types. Yeah. So that's very female oriented. That's much more of a thing. Yeah. And, how do we, typically developing, identify those types of things based on all those features?
Yeah.
Physical features, the things that we're wearing, the voice, the sound, all of that, behaviors, because it comes naturally to us to read the body language of a female versus a male. It doesn't to our kids.
We were in a Walmart the other day, and my son saw somebody and said to me, "Mom,
is that a girl or a boy?
Is that a man or a woman?" And my husband and I both stood there and said, "We don't know," and because I couldn't have told you. I really couldn't have told you.
It happens with me more and more now. I can't say.
Yeah. And I said, and sometimes it's not clear. And he's old enough that we could have that discussion and say, is that really important to know and define? Right. Now at 5. We needed him to be able to distinguish between, different things at different times.
Yeah.
But incredible.
But the fact that he's actually observing those things and identifying the things that don't quite fit in and asking you about it is cool,
Well, and even a little bit of a discussion
of what a child would do.
Yeah, and he even said to me, that makes me feel a little bit funny that I don't know. And I said, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You're not going to keel over and die from feeling funny,
that's
right?
Amazing.
It's
perfectly
okay.
He's so analytical, he's just identifying so many things. Another child would do I feel weird when I can't tell. I'm like, I hope I don't, how am I,
you don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah. And so we all do, but I wouldn't have even been able to voice and say, oh, it makes me feel a little weird. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's amazing.
Well, and I believe it's the same person writing, I have friends that cross-dress. Would it be confusing for her to bring her around them when they're in dresses?
It would be, it wouldn't, it's funny, it's a great question, because I suppose in some ways cross-dressing would be the extreme of what I was just telling you. Mm-hmm. It's sort of like women wear the clothing of men, but they're never really referred to as cross-dressing, right? We wear pants, whereas in the 50s you wouldn't really. Women mostly wouldn't wear pants. So I don't think it's confusing. I think it's probably what's going to come around in the next few years. I don't know. It's not common to see men wearing dresses unless you're living in Scotland. Or skirts, so I guess it would be appropriate. I can't think of why it would be inappropriate to show her that.
Well, and I can tell you that you might judge me as a parent, but years ago when it first came on, RuPaul's Drag Race, I watched it with Jem.
Yes.
And we had a whole discussion about that, and he found it fascinating, and so it added that rule for him that sometimes that happens and that it's okay.
Right.
Exactly.
It's personal choices.
How great that you have that resource available to you, because not everybody has friends who cross-dress. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take another break, and we're going to be back with more questions with Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Lisa Ackerman with TACA, and we're here with TACA Facts, the most common questions and answers needed for the autism journey, real-life questions, real-life answers. Often I'll be talking to a parent that has a child that may be a little bit older, over 10, maybe 15, 16, 20 years old, and they look at me when I ask questions about what their issues are and what's going on. Oh, I've been there, done that. I've done all that already. I just want to let you know I've been 14 years in this autism journey, and there's no way that I've done everything yet for my kid. My list is still long, and until there's nothing left on that list or the autism issues are very small, I'll keep working. So let me reassure you, I have yet to meet the family who's done everything. I'm sure you've done a tremendous amount of work, and I do not want to diminish that. But one thing you need to know is there's always reformulations, and as I said in a previous talk of fact, Since 2005, there's been more research on autism treatments than all previous years combined. That includes therapeutics, that includes medical intervention, that includes dietary intervention. So often it's a good time to relook and reevaluate at something you maybe have tried before, but there may be a new formulation. So you want to get connected with Taka, and we can tell you about some of those exciting things. So there's a Taka fact for you. More questions and answers for your autism journey, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Welcome back to Ask Dr. Doreen. We are here with Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh, and she is answering your questions. She's a true expert in the field of autism, and equally important, she's a visionary in the field of autism. So grateful that you're here. I had a very interesting question that somebody wanted to know about. They say, I have noticed that my son is better, makes better eye contact, speaks better, and is clearer when he has a slight fever. Why is that? And is that being studied? I love this question.
Because yesterday.
Because there was something that came out yesterday that we were talking about before.
Yeah.
So it is being studied.
Yes, it is.
In a very exciting way.
Yes, and it is. I don't want to say it's common, but I've heard this quite a bit. Like I've seen children this way, yeah. So I guess what happens during something like a fever is that your body is producing kind of an immune reaction in terms of trying to fight whatever it is that it perceives is endangering it, bacterial, viral, whatever it is. And therefore production of ATP increases, which is sort of what carries energy and so on. So the concept is that if we can reduce the production of ATP temporarily, then maybe our child kind of will do better during that time. Let's put, I guess in the article that was yesterday, it was by Elizabeth Norton, which is Century-Old Drug Reverses Signs of Autism in Mice. This essentially what they're referring to is removing the shield, I guess, when a fever occurs. It's like this curtains are pulled back and you can see the true functioning of the child, which I really do see a lot of times with our kids. So they are using a medication called Suramin, which I guess was used in the past for African sleeping sickness, and they've now only applied this to kids who were, not kids, mice who were given viral infections that mimic autism in terms of behavior, and then therefore they saw an improvement. So they are currently doing this study. I'm not sure how you can, perhaps did they leave an email or?
They did not leave an email.
Yeah, so they are carrying the study, let me see where they're carrying it out. I know that it seems like they're carrying it out in come up with a novel idea. I'm not sure. I don't know where the study is, because we got this. We have information about the research, but we're not sure where exactly it's being carried out. It seems to be in Ohio. But the person who's commenting on it is at UC San Diego. But then there's also someone commenting from Akron Children's Hospital in Ohio. Okay. So we're not sure, but it is an awesome study, and perhaps you can read this article called, which is in Translational Psychiatry. If you have access to PubMed or someplace where they can get you the research, that's the article. It's in the journal Translational Psychiatry, Suramin with mice right now. It's
pretty fascinating. So at this point in time, though, the trial has been with mice, but this year they're planning on doing this. I think they're starting right now the first trial with humans. So
yes, and
it's very exciting to see what happens.
Yes, and so now as I'm reading more, it is Dr. Navio, who is the one who's doing this, and Robert Navio, Naviaux, and he is at University of California, San Diego.
Okay.
UCSD.
So very close to us.
Yes.
All right. But I find this fascinating. We noticed this with Jem. He gets a slight fever, and of course, as a parent, you never want your child to be sick. And yet there is a luscious window of time when he just starts to get a fever where I can talk to him about anything, and it is amazing.
Lucid, yeah.
It is amazing how crystal clear he is. The eye contact is crazy good. And he uses words, and his syntax, which is still, you know, a little bit like somebody who learned English
as a second
language.
Yeah.
But when he has a slight fever, it's there. You're talking to an intelligent college student.
Yeah, and see, we kind of see these things as being so shocking, yet it happens to us all the time. You think about it, and you and I both know how we change when our hormones change.
Why, yes, right? I do.
Well, we do, and the fact of the matter is, you know, if you're extremely high on progesterone one day, you're going to be pretty lethargic and cloudy. If you're extremely high on estrogen one day, you're going to have, everything's going to kind of upset you pretty fast. So it changes your behavior pretty significantly. I can tell you that my sharpness factor, like my brain and so on, really does actually depend on thyroid. I'm hypothyroid, and if I don't take thyroid medication, I am pretty out of it. So it's, you know, our biochemistry clearly affects us in that sense, and when you have a fever, your biochemistry is completely different. Yeah. You know, so this is all very important stuff. Absolutely.
Makes sense. So I think Nancy and I are going to be talking about this article a little bit in the next hour as well. So, but great question, and it is being studied with some pretty interesting results.
Yes.
Okay. So another person wants to know, why isn't there one place to go for ABA treatment, OT, speech, biomed counseling for the siblings, etc.? Why aren't there autism centers like there are for cancer?
Yeah, gosh, that's such an amazing way to put it in terms of comparing it to cancer. So we try to provide all of that. It's very, very hard. We had a partnership with a bunch of doctors many years ago, and it just, there's a lack of understanding, I suppose, between the ABA world and the medical field still. They don't respect each other enough, I think, and also the ABA field doesn't really respect OT or speech. I get a lot of criticism for supporting the medical field and for supporting speech and OT and so on from the ABA world. We try to provide that at CARD. We have an assessment center, which is all licensed psychologists. We have just recently taken on a fabulous physician who we will be talking about shortly when she starts with us in a month. And so we do have, and she's a developmental pediatrician. And we also have speech pathologists, and we work with a lot of OTs. I would love to hire some good OTs for CARD. It's just very hard to find good OTs. And so I feel that there should be, I don't, you know, I mean, there are centers like that, but the quality of each one I don't think is as good as it should be. I mean, it's one thing to go to one place and find all the areas of expertise. It's another thing to find really high quality areas of expertise all under one roof. And so we are trying very much to provide that, and I think over the next year or two you'll see a lot more centers like that.
Okay, a thing devoutly to be wished for, right? Okay, question from a viewer. How much time childhood autism will need to be better than before? I think what we're getting...
I'm trying to interpret that.
Yeah.
So this parent is asking either how long does treatment take, maybe. Or they're asking how, I don't know, maybe they're asking about the age of the child when they start.
Yeah, that's what I'm not sure about either.
But I would say treatment generally, intensive treatment generally is 3 to 4 years. You know, and that's the bottom line. With a lot of our kids, it goes past that to maybe 5 years or so, and we're talking pretty intensive, like 25 to 40 hours. With adults, it's more focused. So you're not focusing on teaching the individual every possible thing, but you're teaching them the more important things in a very focused intervention. So, you know, vocational training or safety training or whatever they might need at that time. So it varies. The length of time doesn't matter. Maybe the other question another interpretation of what you asked could be, how long does it take before you see progress? And you should see progress, I would say, within the first 6 months, and it should be very visible. If your child has not changed in 6 months, question your ABA team. Because I have not really had a child who hasn't changed in 6 months, and it has to do with the quality of the program and the hours you're getting.
Okay. I want to go to some of our questions on Facebook. We specifically asked on Facebook if anyone had questions about summer, because we're at the beginning of summer here. Somebody wants to know, why do we seem to have more meltdowns when it's hot or humid?
Not sure. Maybe frustration? I think I probably have more meltdowns just in my family when it's hot. If the air conditioning is not on, just think of it that way.
My mother always used to say, and I have no idea whether it's true, but she said that there was a study done sometime in the 60s or the 70s that said that more murders happen when it's 92 degrees than any other temperature.
Seriously? That's fascinating.
That's what she used to say. And I think she would say that to us when it was 92 degrees and she wanted to kill us. But you know what I mean?
Frustration for sure increases, and then biochemically, I'm not sure. Maybe there are things that are happening in your body chemistry when the temperature is that high. I don't know.
And then another person wants to know, is the excessive light and miserable heat why I feel overwhelmed?
Could be. I mean, these are definitely things that are contributing, perhaps. It could also be that you're just overwhelmed. You have too many things on your plate.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's the same. It's funny that these questions, I think last week or at some point we talked about this issue, which was more our tolerance threshold. And I think that a lot of times kids just have, you know, we also don't realize that. I know, oh my gosh, this is so, I really know this is true of me. My kids, as I said right now, Shannon, are not with me. They're in Europe for 10 days or so. And with their dad, and so I find the first few days when they leave, there's this huge hole in my heart. It's like, what do I even do with myself when I go home? My kids aren't even small; they're older, you know. But it's kind of like, wait, no one's asking me for anything. No, I don't have to worry about dinner for anyone. Like, what am I not taking anybody anywhere? Driving, shopping? What's going on? Like, what do I do with all this time?
Yeah.
So the first 2 nights they were gone, I got massive amounts of work done. But just to keep myself busy because I was sad. But then now I start to realize, oh my gosh, it's like I am just so used to a crazy overload schedule. And I look at my friends who don't have kids, and they actually, after 5 or 6, they spend time on themselves. Mm-hmm. And as parents, we don't even know how to do that. And we don't know, I mean, I personally, I'm a very involved parent. So my time belongs to my kids. If I have any free time, it's theirs. Mm-hmm. You might be the same, you know? And it's like, that is why we don't have time to do things like go work out or go to the spa or whatever else, because we do actually have the time. We just give it to our kids. Yeah. And so that level, as a result of that, our threshold for everything changes. Yeah. Like, think of how patient and tolerant you are as a parent now versus in your 20s. Yeah. Right? There's no way on earth. It's like God just prepares us over time. And so, I just think we don't realize how much we pile on, and then we get overwhelmed, and then we say, why am I overwhelmed?
Yeah. And yet we all have good cause to be. Okay, speaking of overwhelm, a good friend of the show wrote in and said, my son is starting to show his aggressive side. He's 4.5, high functioning, but nonverbal. Therapists have instructed me to ignore the behavior and move on with tasks. You have any idea how hard it is for me as his mom to not address his behavior? I understand he's delayed, but I also understand that my kid is very smart and can be very manipulative and sneaky as well. Mm-hmm. When he shows his aggression, he will immediately turn and look at me. I have ignored it. He goes back and does it again or something different, and again will stop and immediately turn and look at me expecting a reaction. It's like he wants me to tell him to stop or behave or something. I can tell when he's being aggressive because he's overwhelmed and frustrated, and I can tell, like in that situation, where he is doing it for attention. My question is, how should I as a parent handle both situations? When he is aggressive out of frustration, I want to just put my hand on him and tell him to relax and get him to calm down. When he does it for attention, intentionally, I want to scold him in a firmer voice and tell him that the behavior is unacceptable. Just to be clear, what I mean by aggression is what you would see from a 2-year-old throwing a tantrum, kicking feet on the floor, grinding teeth with a little growling, occasionally kicking other people while sitting on the floor, open palm pushing, lunging into people. I want to do what's best for him and feel sometimes torn between the two situations and handling them different ways, which I know is not right. Suggestions. I don't know that it's not right to treat them in different ways.
So this is really good. I love this question, and this will probably... I only have 5 minutes, so I need to be quick with this, but this is a very lovely question. I really appreciate this question. So, gosh, yes, it is frustration, obviously. So assume it's frustration. Okay, so assume your child is very frustrated. And they're expressing the frustration to you by hitting and doing all these aggressive behaviors. Is that an okay way to express it? Do you want them to express it that way going forward? That's what I have to ask you.
Right.
Because if you want them to continue to express their frustration to you by aggressing, then go ahead and give it attention. Go ahead and respond to it in any way. If you want the child to not do it that way, then you have to ignore that.
Yes.
But at the same time, obviously, you want your child to express frustration to you in a more appropriate way. So how old is the child? 5, I think?
4.5.
4.5. How would a 4.5-year-old typically express frustration? They would perhaps come up to mom and say, I want this, or, you know, whatever, I'm upset, or something like that. Maybe a little bit raised voice, but they wouldn't be aggressive. Okay, because with a typical child, you wouldn't accept aggression as being okay. So what my question is, why would you accept it with your child? Why would aggression be okay as a means of communication? It's not appropriate. Find another way to communicate, whether it's iconic, because it's a nonverbal child, when they are upset or want to gain something, frustrated, or want attention. It doesn't matter. They need to communicate it in a different way. It's perfectly fine for them to express their frustration or for them to want attention.
Right.
As long as they ask for it or communicate it in a more appropriate way, which would be, in this case, would be iconic or, you know, sight reading. So you need to have your therapist, you can't just ignore it. Yes, you ignore it, but you replace it. You have to replace it. The child needs an out. If he doesn't have a way to express frustration or desire for attention, they'll keep reverting back to what our basic instincts are, which is aggression. I hit and I grab, and that's it. So he needs to learn a more appropriate way, which means your therapy team should be teaching him either a PEC system or a reading system or an augmentative device system, something where he is able to express his basic needs. That's it.
One of the things that I see as an issue, though, is that, because I'm 100% clear that none of us want our kids to aggress at any point, right? That it's not inappropriate, but that we are so ingrained as a race of people that when somebody does something inappropriate, and especially if it's your child and you're the parent, we're supposed to say, don't do that.
Yes,
That's not acceptable.
Yes,
Stop that. And we've been lulled into this idea that that's effective.
Right.
Even though if we tore it down and looked at it, we know that doesn't stop any. The child's banging their foot against the seat and we say, stop it. Don't do that. Knock it off. Whatever. And all it is a tape that we have running and it doesn't affect the behavior.
Right.
And I think, what I'm hearing here, and I do this still, that I will say, I think I've got to tell him, I can't just let that behavior go.
Yes.
And yet it doesn't work. That's the thing we need to really know at a cellular level. That doesn't work.
Right, and that's in the case of attention-seeking behavior, because any kind of attention, negative or positive, is attention. And really, oh my gosh, I used to do this with my kids when they were young, and they hated it, where they would do some sort of attention-seeking behavior and I'd get up and leave. And it was torture to them, because it was like, wait a minute, now there's no one actually to even give me attention. Not only did I not get attention, I lost what I had, so, and it would really put them into what I think your child might be going through, which is an extinction burst. An extinction burst is really important to pay attention to, because the behavior gets worse before it gets better. From the perspective of the child, he's kind of thinking, wait a minute, when I tantrumed, or when I aggressed, they used to give me attention. How come they're not anymore? I need to raise the bar and double tantrum. And so the child will do that and then eventually realize, no, wait, they're not giving me attention. I promise you, if you do this correctly, if you really don't attend to the child when they're misbehaving, and give the child a way to communicate appropriately, this behavior will change.
Absolutely. And the one parting shot that I want to do is that in that moment, because you said, does anybody realize how hard this is for me?
Yes.
And boy, do I, because I still struggle with it. But the only times that I'm successful is when I give myself a replacement behavior for me wanting to teach in that moment verbally.
Yeah,
instead of me
absolutely.
saying, don't do that, don't do that. I think a whole bunch of other things. I remember the times that therapists stood there and said, hold out, don't give them the paycheck. I give myself something else to do, sometimes like a water plants, so that I'm just talking to myself instead of going in and going
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. And just so you know, keeping yourself busy with something else is a fabulous idea. And just for parents to know, I'm a psychologist. I've had children for years. I've worked with children for years. I'm a board-certified behavior analyst. And I wanted to kill myself on my third child. Like, let me just tell you, we all get lost. We all get confused. We all get frustrated. I'd sit outside my daughter's room and cry because she knew how to run me. And there was nothing that worked until I stepped away from it and said, wait a minute, I'm not doing the stuff that I should be doing, and however hard it is, I'm going to have to do it. It's hard. It's really hard. When you have to pick up your child and force them to do something, when you have to sit outside and hear the crying. I know it's very, very hard, but the more clean you do it, the faster it's over.
Okay, you're all going to want to kill me, but can I squeeze one more in?
Of course, I'd be happy to.
Okay, very quickly, what would be appropriate for my adult son who needs to have a release that involves yelling swear words? If he can do this for a few minutes, he's usually fine the rest of the day. Have swear time or something like that? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, we do all sorts of private events and things when we're in our own room. You just need to make sure that he has something like that he can do it in private, and he can actually find ways to excuse himself and go to his room and do it in a way that's not intrusive on anybody else. Who cares what he does when he's alone? He has every right to do whatever he needs to do, as long as it doesn't exacerbate the time that he's with others.
There you go. Yeah. Love it. Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure.
So thrilled to have you here and answer these questions.
To be here. Thank you.
I know it puts you through a workout, but we so appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we're going to go now to the A Word. This is a documentary that's ongoing at the Center for Autism and Related Disorders following a little boy who was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. Take a look as we see this early intensive quality ABA in his home and how it's helping him. This is the A Word.
Look, good talking. Sassy's the bird, yeah.
Independently tacting and joint attention is a big deal. The reason is that tacting is socially reinforced and doesn't have a tangible reinforcer.
Look, good talking. Sassy.
Unlike manding, where the reward is getting what you're asking for. This is why Jack Riley has been requesting items. He's immediately reinforced. Tacting, on the other hand, is making an observation in your environment and then sharing with others what you experience. So the reward in tacting is the attention and social interaction. Kids with autism many times aren't naturally socially motivated in the way typically developing children are. Here, Jack Riley is simultaneously tacting with joint attention. Jack Riley looks at the TV, points, and labels the characters. Then he looks at Jessica to check that she is sharing the experience with him, and then looks back at the TV. A key identifying sign of autism is a child's lack of joint attention. They don't initiate having a joint experience, for example, pointing, or responding to other social cues like following a parent's gaze. The way we encourage tacting behaviors is by first practicing it in a contrived manner, like teaching labels, asking, well, what is it?
Shoe.
Okay, thank you. We teach them labels so they have words to communicate with. The hope is to fade the prompts until the language happens naturally and often.
The end.
That's the next Lion King. Circle of life.
The end. All right. It's over. Yeah.
Okay. It's all over. It's over, buddy.
You want to play? Do you want to play? Say yes. Yes. Good. Do you want to play? Yes. Okay, here. Do you want one fire truck or two? Two. Two. Okay, here you go. Fire truck. Fire trucks, yeah. Hey, Jack Riley, one more minute, okay? Say okay. Okay. All right. All right, buddy. Come over here. Come sit down. Ow.
Jessica and Jack Riley are continuing to work on identifying categories since he knows so many labels now.
Hey, mister. That was good sitting, but you gotta face me, okay? Turn around. Turn around. Thanks. Do you want bubbles, phone, or fire truck? Whoa. Say I. Whoa. Okay. Toys. Hold on, buddy. I know. Hold on. Ready? Say I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay. Give me a vehicle. Vehicle. Good job. What is it? Vehicle. Nice. Good job, kiddo. Right. Hold on. Hold on. Ready? Say I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay. Give me animal. Good job. What is it? Animals. Good job. There you go. Here's another sticker for you. Give me toys. Toys. Nice job. What is it? Toys. Yeah, but what is it? Say toys. No, say toys. Toys. Good. What is it? Toys. There you go, mister. Nice job. Give me animal. Good job. What is it? Animals. Nice. All right. Last one. Give me, hey, look at me. Look at me. Good job. Give me food. Dog. What? Cat. Nice job. What is it? Animals. No, this one. What's this one? Animals. No. What is this? Food. Food! There we go! All right. Here you go. Buffalo. Yeah. There you go, mister. Do you want more Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star? More? Ow. Do you want more? Boy. Say I. I want boy. Okay, we're going to sing first. Head, shoulders, knees and toes. Knees and toes, head, shoulders, knees and toes, knees and toes. Knees, toes. What's next? Eyes and ears and mouth and nose, head, toes. Knees, toes, knees and toes. Yay! That was very good. High fives. Oh, too slow. High five. Ah, too slow. There you go. Ah, yay! You did it. Good boy. Okay, I get you your peekaboo wild, okay? Okay, where is my peekaboo wild? Let me go get it for you. There you go. So silly. He's gotten so much better. He knows the words now, which is really, really cool. And it helps him with labeling his body parts too. So a lot of the body parts I think he learned from the song before we even started on them.
Knowing the song also prepares Jack Riley for preschool. By knowing the words and movements, he will be able to participate in social activities that his peers will be doing.
Good morning and welcome to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. I'm Nancy Alspaugh-Jackson.
And I'm Shannon Penrod.
Hello, my friend.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. You look so pretty today.
You look so beautiful. Blue's a good color on you.
Well, and the creams and the whites and the beiges are
Seersucker,
good for you.
baby. Summer.
It's, we're rocking it.
Yeah. Target. Okay.
We love
my favorite
Target.
designer.
There we go.
Okay. All right. So, first of all, we have some good news, and you and I haven't even talked about this. I'm happy, and I wish I had some photos, but our supporter and friend, Senator Kevin DeLeon, was Justice of the California Senate by a unanimous vote. I mean, the first Latino to hold that position since 18-something.
Wow.
And, yeah, son of a housekeeper who, you know, used to commute to clean homes and inspired him to become a public servant. And
wonderful gentleman.
I believe he's going to be, he showed up at our Acta Español conference and took a great interest in what's going on with autism, has asked to be educated by Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh and myself, and we're going in to meet with him in July and talk to him about issues involving our children and how we need the California State Legislature's support. So, and that's a good segue into the first thing we were going to talk about, the Medi-Cal.
Yeah. So, you know, it's a best of times, worst of times situation that the discussion continues about Medi-Cal funding in the state of California. The first avenue that we were seeking has been denied. It's not a part of the budget. But what I find fascinating is that they suggested that funding be sought from another resource. So what does that say? Does that say, oh, we know this is important, but we don't want to pick up the check, so go look elsewhere?
Pretty much, I would say, isn't it?
Well, but what the part of that sentence that I think is important is we know this is important.
Right.
But you're going to have to go find it someplace else is very disappointing to me. But, you know, the fact that the door isn't closed, we know how essential it is. When I think about the families in the state of California that had Medi-Cal, and through Healthy Families, they had coverage for ABA, and those children started ABA, were making progress, and then it was yanked away from them.
The rug was yanked out under them.
And they were promised that it wouldn't be, that something would be given in its place, and then that went away.
Yeah.
That promise went away. It is now a full year later, and we all were letting our voices be heard. And, you know, I guess they're registering that it's important. I guess that's the good news.
Well, you know, things change. And Senator Steinberg, who's been an enormous supporter of the autism community, is terming out. But let's hope that we can get Senator DeLeon to be a champion and lead the charge. That's certainly what's going to be my intention when I speak with him about all the issues, and particularly the fact that the Hispanic community has the fastest growing rise in autism. And if 1 in 48 boys has autism. The average age, by the way, of diagnosis in for a Latino Hispanic family, 8.
Which
for a Caucasian
I could just
child
lay down
4.
on the floor and cry about that.
So, you know, clearly there's some things that need to be done that are going to have not just ramifications among the autism community, but it's going to have ramifications among the state, the nation, the world. If we're going to lead the world, if we're going to be world leaders, if the United States is going to continue in that position, we have to make sure all our children get the best education, care, and that our children with autism get early intervention so they can become fully productive and be the brilliant, intelligent kids that they are, that can make a contribution to society, not have to be discounted because of not having access to care and treatment.
And I think it starts with all of us being on the same page and having the same talking points. And when your friends who don't have children with autism say to you, but we can't afford to fund all these things, the economy is bad and we can't afford them, ask them who is going to pick up the check when these kids need to have support and services for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, well, we're talking $2.4 million if they have cognitive delays that go along with oftentimes not getting early intervention. So I think it's pretty obvious, Shannon. If it's not obvious, you know, email us and we'll tell you more about how we feel. It's just obvious. Yes. This is not even a...
Right. There shouldn't be any argument to this. Yes,
no
absolutely.
Okay.
A bunch of different studies that we had, and we're going to kind of power through these because we got a lot we want to get to. We didn't even mention
Coach E.
that our special guest today, Elaine Hall, Coach E from the Miracle Project,
creator of the Miracle Project, and she's got it going on right now at Cal State Northridge, and my son Wyatt is in it.
Which is just
and
wonderful.
I can tell you, he's come home the last 2 days just singing songs. Something I said he was singing something about the spectrum. I'm like, what's that song? He goes, I don't know, Mommy. I'll ask Coach E. So anyway, we're going to hear about that and this exciting project she has going on this summer at Cal State Northridge.
Can't wait to hear about it. So do we want to do a couple of studies?
Yeah, a couple of them. How about half of adults with autism afraid to leave the house?
Yes, this is a study that was done in England, and they reported that they were afraid to go out because of some of the ramifications, some of the bullying that's happened in the past. I think this is something that we don't talk about enough.
Right.
We talk about the bullying, but what are the long-term ramifications of that? And if we're having half of the autism adults in England, you know, obviously, if we were to do that study here, I'm sure we would find something
similar
comparable.
Numbers, yeah.
That they're now afraid to go out.
Yeah.
These are things that need to be addressed, but I was really stunned by, they talked to 1,300 adults, and over half of them have fears because of things that have happened.
So sad.
That make them not
very
want to be in the public. Yeah.
Very disturbing.
Absolutely. You brought to our attention, and we talked with it briefly with Dr. Granpeesheh. There are a couple of mice studies.
I've been a lot of mice studies lately.
And we know that that's a way that we start to see whether something might be effective. We do recognize, as these studies tell us, that something that's effective in a mouse study isn't often is not effective when we go to humans, but it's a good place to start. So
yeah. So basically, that a drug that is effective for Parkinson's is reducing symptoms of Rett syndrome in mice. Okay, and they are finding that that this drug. Because Rett syndrome is a neurodevelopmental disease that's often accompanied by autistic behavior such as repetitive movements. Well, this drug has been effective in essentially reversing that or inhibiting that is what my understanding is. They're saying this is not a panacea or a magic pill, but at least is starting to point to whether it may also be useful in controlling the symptom of Rett syndrome in humans and then therefore possibly autism.
There we go. And I think it's very exciting when we see different areas working together, that Rett syndrome and Parkinson's, that they're starting to see that some of the same drugs can be effective. And we've seen that with autism, that some of the things they're using for autism are effective for other things.
And schizophrenia and
that
autism,
collaboration is really important because when we're hitting on two pistons, there's more likelihood for funding.
Right.
But I don't know if you want to talk about this particular study, the one that you brought to my attention last night. And as I said, we were talking about it with Dr. Granpeesheh.
Okay. So this was, I saw this other one. I thought, that's not the study I was going to talk about. This is the study I was going to talk about.
Yeah.
Century-old drug reverses signs of autism in mice. This is the other mice study. A single dose of a century-old drug has eliminated autism symptoms in adult mice with an experimental form of the disorder. Originally developed to treat African sleeping sickness, the compound called suramin quells a heightened stress response in neurons that researchers believe may underlie some of the traits of autism. So it goes on to talk about that hope is bolstered by parents who describe their autistic children as being caught behind a veil. And that also research has shown that the veil can be parted. In 2007, scientists found that 83% with autism disorder showed temporary improvement during a high fever. I have found that with my son. Have you found that with Jim?
Absolutely, and this is exactly what we were just talking about with Dr. Granpeesheh, that frequently happens, and it shows the capability of the child. In that moment, we're seeing what they're capable of.
Really?
Yes.
So what else did she have to say about it other than
that?
Well,
I mean, she was very excited about the study, and because they have a fairly unique way of looking at it, because people for a long time have been saying, why is that in a fever, our kids, things clear up?
Right.
And why aren't we utilizing that to create that environment more often? So she was very excited. She's been talking for a while about the ATP and that response and how
chief theory of energy within a cell.
Yeah.
Now, I think this really sums it up for the head scientist or researcher on this said. His hypothesis is that autism involves a prolonged, heightened cell danger response. And apparently this drug can help correct that.
Yeah.
So, and this was published in Translational Psychiatry, just very briefly, just a short time ago, and they're gonna see that see where this goes. So I think it's very interesting.
I love the analogy that they have in there about how if you're a country and you're at war, you strengthen your boundaries, and that this is what they see happening with the cells in the brain. That it feels like it's at war. It's fighting off toxins and things like that. So it puts up boundaries. It puts up boundaries so that it can protect itself, but that prevents information from being able to get into the cells. And when you have a fever, it degrades the boundaries, and so the information gets in.
Okay.
And so this drug can help to lower the boundaries permanently. And the results in the mice have been really shockingly good. And so they are going to start the first human trial. It's way early, but it makes sense on so many levels. This particular theory, hypothesis of what's happening, and it has that component of our kids get overwhelmed by those environmental things, the epigenetics we're talking about. It makes a great deal of sense.
It does. So it's very helpful.
Exciting. Very exciting.
Okay.
Right. Should we?
Move
do you
on.
want to do this, or do you want?
We had some stories that kind of I think we should maybe save, except for one, a feel-good story that we'll just go out on.
Okay.
A high school valedictorian in Maryland is headed to Towson State College, and he was the valedictorian of his class. He has autism, and they said that he started talking about a lot of the standard things that a valedictorian would speak about: the transition to college, the impact of teachers' teacher have had on his life, the experience of high school, and then he delved into something rarely heard from someone with a 4.0 grade point average, standing before his graduating class, preparing to head the college in a few months. He spoke about his autism. His name is Montel, 17, and he said having a disability doesn't mean you have a disadvantage. Sometimes it can be an advantage. It was a difficult journey for this young man. It began at the age of 3 when they realized he was completely nonverbal. He was in special education classes in elementary school, ultimately into academic independence and success in high school. So this, his mother was quoted as saying, this has been a long journey for us. He made some gains very late in the game, and I just think this is such an inspirational story for some of us who have children that are, we hear so much about that early window of intervention and recovery, but just because our children don't recover does not mean that they cannot go on to be extraordinarily happy, successful, and contributing members, and I think this young man's story shows that. So kudos.
Hope in a jar. We're gonna take a break, and then we're gonna bring in our very special guest, Coach Elaine Hall. But I want to bring up that last night was Autism Awareness Night at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah, how was it?
It was really fun. It was really exciting.
And the Dodgers won.
And I didn't even know that because we left early.
Oh.
We had an early show this morning, and a child that needed to go to bed.
Okay.
Excuse me. But it was also signed baseball night.
Okay.
Because, you get a gift.
Okay.
And so we have that we're going to be giving away, but you must sign up for our newsletter. You can either do that on our website or on our Facebook page. We're going to give away a baseball. And it does, there's signatures and pictures of several of the players. They gave away thousands of them. This is not a collector's item.
Yeah, right.
But it's
still
a
cool thing.
It's still a very cool thing. We're going to give this away to somebody.
Especially if your child's a big Dodgers fan or baseball fan.
It's a perfectly good baseball with, you know, all this accoutrement.
Right.
The bank and everything. So sign up for our newsletter for the next, let's say 48 hours. Over the next 48 hours, we'll choose from the people who sign up for the newsletter. Someone will ship this off to you. All right. We're going to take a break, and we're going to bring our very special guest in.
Coach Elaine Hall from the Miracle Project. Okay.
Can't wait
to
talk
right
to her.
back.
Bye-bye.
When you find out you're having a boy, you always think like, oh, he's going to play football, he's going to do this and that. And then when he's diagnosed, all those things get washed away.
It's like that piece that's always in the back of your mind, you know, where is he, what is he doing, is he safe?
We really didn't know what we were dealing with. I wish that they could have directed me a little bit more and provided me some information.
I was a young mom. I didn't know what it was like to raise a boy, despite a boy with autism.
Hundreds of thousands of families are not getting the help they need for their children with autism all around the country. ACT Today is determined to bridge the gap. These families really have to go through a lot to get a grant. The application process isn't easy. The records, the diagnosis proof, they're really battling for their kids. So when we can give them a grant, it is so wonderful to see that they succeed in getting that help for their children. Our founder, Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh, is an amazing woman, and she is one of the world's foremost authority on behavior of children with autism. She's extremely knowledgeable, and she oversees every single grant we give. She is part of that process. People may think of autism care and treatment as simply schooling or therapy, but you know, we provide important safety supports, things like fencing, for example. The whole family's living in fear of that child running out into traffic. I recently delivered an iPad to a little boy with some of the apps that are out there for children with autism. Miracles happen.
I got the iPad from ACT.
From ACT,
What did it say? Can you repeat that, Dustin?
I got the iPad from ACT.
We have helped so many military families, and when I think of these brave families that are fighting two battles, one to protect our country and one for the right treatment and care for their children, it breaks my heart, and I think we have to do more as a nation to help them.
There's not a day that doesn't go by that we don't think about it. Some people say, oh, he's normal. You don't see the battles that I see every single day. My husband does have to deploy, and when they get on that bus, that might be the last time that my kids ever see them.
So I called, and they informed me that he had received the grant, which was like a blessing from above. I was just like speechless. I just started to cry because, you know, without it, we would have been lost.
The ACT grant was a total miracle, and without that, we wouldn't be able to receive the service dog. So we're so appreciative what they've done for us as a family.
Recently, ACT Today funded a program for military children with autism in San Diego, the Inclusion Films program, which is run by Joey Travolta, and teaches kids on the autism spectrum literal filmmaking skills. They learn how to make a movie.
Are we ready? There you go, got it. Okay. Everything that goes into the process of making a film goes into everyday life. So they're learning life skills, they're learning to collaborate.
It was really nice to know how much they were enjoying this camp, and they're with people who are supporting them and are making them feel great about themselves and their differences and their similarities. And I get two kids that are working together and apart and together and apart, so it's an interrelationship as well as a camp and a learning experience.
It's so fulfilling when I get letters. One stands out for me, a boy who was 14 with Asperger's, and we gave him a grant to go to a drama camp. He wrote to us and said, "Dear ACT Today, thank you for letting me belong for the first time in my life." These kids are remarkable. You know, we underestimate them. They're so knowledgeable, they're so capable, and we can change the life of a family, which means changing the life of a community. Welcome back to Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy. And we are joined by a wonderful friend of ours to Autism Live and to Act Today, Coach Elaine Hall. Welcome, Elaine.
I'm so excited to be here.
Yes, better known as Coach E, sometimes known as the Autism Whisperer. Elaine Hall is the creator of the Miracle Project, which is the groundbreaking theater program, Autism Mom, and she has trained people in her methodology, the 7 Keys, and she was the subject of an Emmy Award-winning documentary, and she has authored 2 books. Now I See the Moon, and what's your other book? The 7 Keys. Okay, so as if that were not enough, she's here with us, and she's going to talk about the Miracle Project. First of all, what is it?
Yeah,
right?
tell
Everybody that doesn't know.
Okay, so so great to be with you. And the Miracle Project is a groundbreaking and proven methodology that uses a fully inclusive theater, music, expressive arts program to bring out the best in individuals of all abilities, autism and other disabilities, as well as their typically developing siblings and peers. So through creative experiences that we share, we bring out the best in everyone participating. Create our own songs, our own plays based on the ideas of the kids themselves, the teens, the young adults, and adults, and then put on a live musical.
And this is something that you've been doing for a while. It's not as if this is just a startup, as you said. This is something that you've been able to see tremendous results. And we should, for people who don't know you, we should let them know a little bit about why this is such a passion for you. This came about because you're a mom, correct?
I'm a mom. I was and still currently am a theater and film acting coach for TV and film. And my son was diagnosed with autism when he was almost 3 years old.
Neil.
And N-E-A-L. And traditional therapies were not working at the time for him because he was also adopted, and it just wasn't clicking for him. So I sought my creative friends and learned everything that I was learning from all the therapists in ABA, in relationship-based, in intensive speech therapy and occupation. I learned everything. And then I created the 7 Keys and trained them in understanding autism. And we joined Neil in his autistic world. So if he would flap, we would flap and make it birds. And if he would spin, we'd spin with him. And then we had adult-directed activity that gradually, in a creative way, got him out of his world. Inch by inch by inch, he emerged into our world.
So you were shaping behavior. So using a lot of ABA, you were shaping behavior. Using floor time, you were building on skills. Using even the sunrise method, it sounds like you took a lot of these various approaches and built on them. So it's really fascinating to me.
It is fascinating. And your program it's world-renowned. I mean, you have so many good things said about it. And you've also been the recipient of some pretty incredible grants recently.
Yes, one of which is Act Today has so generously sponsored a grant to be able to scholarship many children, teens.
We're giving $10,000.
$10,000 to scholarship our teens at the Teenage Drama Workshop Miracle Project, Joining the Spectrum at Cal State Northridge.
Really incredible. And so if people wanted more information about the Miracle Project and what you're doing, where would be the best place for them to go, Coachy?
Shannon, they can go to our website, which is themiracleproject.org. And we'll have our show information, because we're going to have 5 shows that are going to be open to the public.
She's going to be coming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, one of our main characters is going to be Wyatt, so we're
thrilled.
really thrilled. So
Yeah, we're thrilled too. Yeah,
We're gonna take a short break, but before we do, Coach E has very generously given us a copy of Autism the Musical and a copy of her book, How I See the Moon. Now I See the Moon. And we're going to be giving these away. So if you would like to get one of these, you need to sign up for our newsletter in the next 48 hours, and we will be giving these away. Thank you so much for your generosity. Somebody's going to enjoy, and we're going to give them away separately. So enter to win those by signing up for the newsletter. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come back and talk in depth with Coach E about what's happening this summer and what they're up to with the Miracle Project. Stick with us.
Hi, welcome to Camp Discovery, a free-to-play suite of fun, interactive learning games for kids 2 and up, designed by experts in autism. Camp Discovery will open your early learner to a world of new skills, shapes, numbers, colors, locations, emotions, and more. Let's get started.
Please choose a level.
Objects. First, Camp Discovery's Intelligent Preference Assessment determines your child's preferred reward for choosing correctly. Okay, got it. Let's play. Camp Discovery creates a motivating learning environment for your child by minimizing incorrect responses and maximizing successful ones.
Find the shoes.
Respond correctly and your child is rewarded with their favorite animations.
You did it.
Respond incorrectly and our unique prompting system guides your child to the correct answer by making it the largest choice.
That's not it. Try again. Way to go.
Continue to answer correctly and the size gradually reduces until the child makes the correct choice independently.
You win.
Success! Rewards motivate learning. Complete a round and your child is rewarded with a fun mini-game. Track your child's progress with easy-to-read graphs. Multiple settings options allow you to customize Camp Discovery to your child's unique needs. All this in one single app, the Camp Discovery app, available for free on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon Store.
Welcome back.
I put my drink down, that's all.
We were doing an Irish jig.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed the things that happen here during breaks. But we're here right now with the amazing Coach E, Elaine Hall from the Miracle Project. Such a thrill to have her here with us. And we've been talking about this amazing program that you do. Let's talk a little bit about how effective this program is working with individuals who have different abilities, because it's not just for people with autism,
it's
correct?
Inclusive.
It's fully inclusive, yes, exactly. And well, Nancy and Shannon, as moms, and we know this, that we want to do the best for our children. And we, like we had said, I trained in every single methodology to train creative people how to understand autism from the inside out. And that's the 7 keys approach, is really learning how we all have a little bit of autism in us, and that there is no difference. There is no I and thou. It's more about how do we relate, how do we show up with an intention of acceptance and understanding and compassion. And in that environment, our children, teens, young adults flourish and become their best selves. So we look straight through the autism and see everyone's essence. And what happens is it allows them to be their best self and to reveal to us things that they may have never had a chance to reveal before.
I love that you have this way of truly unlocking gifts that they have maybe found ways to even hide as coping mechanisms. Now, what strikes me is that your book would really be a great book for every parent to give their child's teacher.
Yes.
I think, the keys to unlocking autism is just so important. And when I received a copy from you, I gave it to my son's teacher last year, and she said it was enormously helpful. So I want to encourage everybody to order. Now, where can they order that book?
They can order the 7 Keys to Unlock Autism, Making Miracles in the Classroom. They can get that on Amazon.
Okay.
So, and that is being used as textbook in universities. I've spoken at Brown University and Cal State Northridge and NYU, and invited to Harvard, all people who are looking at this approach as something that exactly what you said can be used in every single atmosphere. And the inclusivity side of it is that it's not about just changing the person with autism. It's about everyone that gets to be in relationship with our kids. their lives are transformed.
Okay, I think we need to order, if you're an autism mom, you need to order this book for everybody in your family, all your teachers, anybody that interacts with your child. Now, I have to say, because Wyatt is currently at the camp at Cal State Northridge, and he's been there for 2 days now. Well, the first day he came home, and I said, you know, what did you learn today? And he was painting, and he said, oh, we'll talk about it later. And I said, okay. So he's singing a song, something, spectrum, the spectrum, da-da-da, the spectrum. And I'm like, where did you learn that song? He said, at trauma camp. And I said, oh, great. What's the name of it? He goes, I don't know. I'll ask Coach E. And we had our own little miracle happen. You know how miracles lead to miracles. We showed up the first day, and unbeknownst to us, one of our dearest friends, in fact, the mother of this child, literally created Denim and Diamonds for Autism with me. We would be out hiking, and we talked about doing a fundraiser to help other children that did not have the funding they needed. She's a dancer and an actress. Her name is Lori Dorff. And her daughter, Callie, who has high-functioning autism, is part of the Miracle Project, and we didn't know it till day one. Now, Callie has assumed the role of big sister to Wyatt. And it's something to behold. I mean, it was a real godsend. So I think miracles create miracles.
Absolutely.
It's so beautiful. Callie walked in the first day and just, Wyatt's here! And his eyes lit up, and she has embraced him, and it's just been the most beautiful relationship.
And I imagine that happens with a lot of the children. What are some of the miracles you've seen? I mean, we know Autism the Musical went on to some great acclaim, and some of these kids that we got to know went on to amazing things. What are some of the miracles you've seen, Elaine?
I am so blessed with seeing miracles on a daily basis, and then on my watch. You know, sometimes as educators, we plant seeds and we never get to see them blossom. I feel so blessed that I've been able to see a lot of kids blossom. So one of my stories is she started with us when she was 9.5 years old. And I can share her name because her mom loves to tell her story. This is Spencer. And Spencer was going through a very challenging time. She was screaming a lot. She had tremendous anxiety. She could not even walk in the room. We have different levels of classes, and so we put her in our most contained class that gave the most support, still fully inclusive.
I love that you say most contained, most support, not lowest functioning. Thank you.
You know, I don't use the words high functioning, low functioning.
You don't?
No, and actually when I spoke was very privileged to speak at the United Nations for World Autism Awareness Day, and my presentation was about not using those terms, high functioning, low functioning.
What would you like us to use? Because this is education for us.
Well, what I say is different levels of support in different environments. For example, my son, Neil, if you put him in a classroom, he's nonverbal autistic, if you put him in a classroom with 30 kids, in a regular classroom, he will run around in circles, he will wear headsets, he will maybe at times have to bang, and someone would walk in the door and say, oh, this kid is low functioning.
Right. And he's not at all.
Take him to the Santa Monica Mountains with those same 30 kids, and he is the leader of the pack. He will help someone that needs to know where to go. He will create new pathways. An observer would go, oh, that's a real high-functioning autistic kid.
Right.
Now let's take it back and even further. In certain environments, I am severely low-functioning. I can create and write a script much easier than I can figure out how to go to Kinko's, how many copies to make, to collate, and then the worst for me is where do I file it?
Yeah, how about balancing a checkbook? I'm about as low functioning as you get there.
There you go. Now imagine if you had to do that 10 hours.
I'd scream all day long.
Which is what our kids do.
Of course, you're
because they're in
right.
environments that are playing to their greatest difficulty. So we take that child, we take, you're so highly creative and communicative, and so guess what? You get to do that. And all of a sudden, you're high functioning.
Right.
Put me in a place where I can create and write and direct. I'm high functioning. if they had seen me 5 hours earlier in my office trying to, that woman's really low functioning. So what we do in our trainings is we help ourselves see where are we high functioning, where are we low functioning, and where do we need support? Because we're all interdependent. We all need support, and so what we say with our students is, how can we support them so that they can shine?
Yeah. It's such breakthrough work, it really is. And I want to just ask you, did you have any idea when the documentary was being done on the Miracle Project that Autism the Musical would get the kind of acclaim that it received? That must have been an interesting experience for you. Can you talk about that?
That's such a fun story. It was a little teeny film company. We call it the little engine that could. It's a little teeny film company that wanted to make a difference. And they asked if they could document the Miracle Project. And all of us, the reason we agreed is we said, if it will change the way people perceive autism, if it'll change 1 or 2 people, if it'll make their lives easier, then we want to do it. And that was our only reason. When I wrote the original grant, I said that I would impact 100 people. Now, thousands of people all over the world. I've received emails.
Oh, hundreds of thousands. I mean, I remember when it was airing on HBO, I had so many calls because Wyatt had been diagnosed. How many years ago was this?
That was in 2008. It was aired on HBO.
Okay. So Wyatt had been diagnosed, but we were in the, more kind of the early stages of things. And I had so many people calling me saying, you've got to watch this. Yeah. And it really was an amazing story. And seeing these young, there were 5 of the original in the documentary. Yes. But did you have any idea it would go on to win Emmys? And
it's just been such a dream and extraordinary gift from the universe.
I want to backtrack just a little bit because we sidetracked talking about
Spencer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Spencer.
I
want to know what happened with Spencer.
I have to brag on my Spencer.
Okay.
So Spencer was in class with the most support, and she screamed a lot. She couldn't stand in front of another. We always have our kids give back at the end of every class. So even if they just need to stand in front of others, just so they can learn to be perceived, so she couldn't even stand in front of the group without tremendous support, and cried a lot. And we joined her. We helped her. We supported her. We gave her everything she needed. We had a teen volunteer hang with her so she learned interaction with other students. Gradually, she started feeling more and more comfortable. She could be on stage, just maybe 1 or 2 lines. I'm going to cut to today. As Spencer says, one day, opera came out of her throat. Spencer isn't a gifted opera singer.
Oh my gosh, I have chills.
She is now becoming, she performed with Ariva Martin Special Needs Network in front of 1,000 people with a standing ovation. And she will be performing in our CSUN show.
Great.
So that's one of our miracles.
Amazing.
Another is Tristan is performing at Stephanie's Day. For those
Yes, be there. We'll be there.
Oh, fantastic. You'll see Tristan.
Great.
She is a blues singer and jazz singer, and she's going to be singing the theme song from Frozen, Let It Go. She's an incredible performer, and she and others performed at Carnegie Hall. We were honored at Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
So those are the big miracles. Now my little miracles, the ones that are just so delicious, is we had a student who said, I will not sing, I will not dance, I will not act, but I want to draw. So we said, great, we need artists. Yeah. Well, yesterday in class, the second day, she sang, she danced, and she acted. And then she went like this, I did it.
Yay.
Well, Wyatt has basically declared that he's going to be a famous actor to me. And he's already an artist. When I say, are you going to be an artist? I'm already an artist.
Such good self-esteem.
You can't buy that. It's amazing.
I know.
Really
Wyatt
remarkable.
has such ideas. He is so creative.
He's very creative.
So smart.
Thank
and he
you.
comes up with these ideas. And my team is going,
You make me cry.
Wow. And he finds words like, we're talking about the ocean. He goes, well, there needs to be a dinghy. Like, of course there needs to to be a dinghy, you know? And he's
Love it.
just so delightful.
He is delicious.
Thank you.
So the Sea Sun Project, it culminates with, you said 5 performances?
5 performances.
Okay.
And those will be on our website.
Okay, and we'll be talking about them because I want everybody to come see Wyatt.
Of course.
Of course.
Of course.
And what is your website again?
It's themiracleproject.org.
Okay.
And quickly, do you do the Miracle Project in other parts of the country?
Yes.
So we have been requested in over 500 cities across the country. We are currently raising the funds to be able to make this program available to the thousands of people who want us. Currently, we're in New York City, Springfield, Missouri. We have some classes in Northern California and San Diego, and West LA, Sherman Oaks, and beginning in Thousand Oaks.
And as you know, at our Big Denim and Diamonds fundraiser in October, we are intending to do a special, what they call a paddle auction, to fund some of these future programs. So you and I are going to have to talk about what kids we want to have to perform that night, and you're going to get up on stage and inspire our audience to give, and hopefully we'll be raising a lot of money to fund the Miracle Project all around the country.
Now I'm crying. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for being with us. We always appreciate it when you come by.
Thank you. An honor.
Yeah, well, you keep doing your magical work.
That's right.
And we'll be back with more.
We will be back. Stick with us.
When Maddie was diagnosed, I'll be honest, I was very ignorant on what autism was. I knew that autism was basically something that hit boys at the age of 2 to 3. They shut down, and sometimes you think of the typical Rain Man movie. And with Maddie, she was doing all the same signs and symptoms of a typical child with autism spectrum disorder.
Stand up.
She didn't even acknowledge us coming into the room. She had barely any eye contact. She didn't interact with her sisters. She didn't really do anything. She just basically lined up her toys, and that was about it. We have a team of 7 volunteers, or 8 now. We have 8 volunteers, including my husband and I. And I'm the team leader, and so I do all the curriculum and get everything ready each week.
Jana was downstairs until 11 o'clock at night working on curriculum, going through 2 different textbooks. And then we, as a group, meet on Monday nights, and we would go through what the curriculum was from Jana. And a lot of times we would go, well, how exactly do you do that? How do you sit her at the table and do this trial base? What Skills has done for us, it's taken that away from Jana trying to figure out the curriculum for one. She can go down, or even our laptop, and she can sit down, and through all these questions, it comes up with the different programs.
At least for me, it was a relief off my shoulders. I was worried that I might be missing something, missing a curriculum that maybe she needs to know, where Skills, they have every possible thing your child needs to know from 0 to 7. They have a program for that.
What noise is this?
Good job!
Every program that we did with her, I knew it was specific for what she needed to learn. Because before Skills, it was a lot of, okay, well, is that really age appropriate for a 2-year-old? You know, because it's not generalized. It's anywhere from 0 to 7. This is what your child needs to know. In most manuals, you'll find. But for this, okay, yep, she should be learning this. And no, she's not 4 yet. She doesn't need to know that yet.
We are so fortunate that Jana was able to attend a conference put on by CARD that opened the door for Skills, and that there's no looking back for us.
We started using the program in November, and it seemed like by January something just clicked, and she has completely kind of came out of her fog that she was in for quite a while.
I have never read a documented case on any child that has not benefited anything from applied behavior analysis, and now with this new Skills and being, you know, like the E version of ABA, I can't imagine it doing anything harmful to their child. It's nothing but exponential growth for us.
To see her now, it just blows us away. I mean, we call her our little miracle child because in 7 months' time, she's just blossomed into this normal, functioning child. And suddenly, we joke about it all the time, like suddenly we have twins.
If you're even thinking about doing it, do it. Because the absolute worst thing you can do is do nothing at all. And even if you use this program and it's just a single mom or a single dad working in the evenings with their child, this program is going to benefit them. It's going to show you where they are, it's going to show you where they need to go, and it's going to show you what skills and how to get there. It is an online book on how to help recover your child.
We're back. It was so great hearing about the miracles that happened at the Miracle Project with Coach Elaine Hall's program. And this is a story that came our way that we thought you should take a look at, about an autistic teen who steals the show. All the World's a Stage for a young man in Colorado Springs, Colorado, Chris Cameron, and he had a supporting role in How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying. So let's go to this video to see how Chris did.
The World's a Stage for a young man here in Colorado Springs. He's a high school senior, a theater student, and he's autistic. And tonight, the curtain's open to a packed house. This is Chris Cameron, but tonight, we'll call him Douglas.
I'm Douglas Fairbanks. I work as a businessman and I have a boss named Mr. Bigley.
Chris is autistic, but his disorder didn't keep him from landing a supporting role in Pine Creek High School's production of How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying.
The best part is I like music. Music is my passion.
Castmates, now friends, call Chris the hardest working man in showbiz.
He's always in character, he's doing what he's supposed to, and if we're all messing around like we're not supposed to, he'll come back and be like, guys, we need to focus.
He just kind of drives this whole thing forward, actually. This whole production, he keeps us all high when we're feeling low.
Teachers have noticed a big change in Chris since he joined the theater club.
He's definitely come out of his shell and gained a lot of confidence.
Performing on stage has also helped Chris handle light and noise sensitivity. But it's not just Chris who's undergone a transformation. He's touched the lives of everyone who shares this stage.
He's just been an incredible friend and a wonderful part of my life.
One word I would use to describe Chris would be inspirational.
They've enjoyed discovering his special gifts.
He could tell you any song, any artist that you want to hear.
And that's why they call him the DJ.
Who's the DJ?
Chris! And tonight, Chris's parents are front and center.
We support our child as much as any other parent, and he's a lead actor to us, just like any other kid.
Soon Douglas will once again become Chris, but the memories will last long after the curtain closes.
It's just amazing that I've lots of friends, and I'm going to miss all of you next year.
Now, the curtain just closed on opening night, but you can see Chris at Pine Creek High School on April 4th, 5th, 11th, and 12th at 7 p.m. And tickets range from $6 to $13.
Boy, what a great story.
I know. It just made me so happy. Really cool.
Well, it's Microsoft.
Wasn't that a great story?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely amazing. The
so
power of theater.
Right.
Absolutely the power of the theater.
Yes.
A couple of quick notes. We have some things that we are giving away. Autism the Musical, Elaine Hall gave this, Coach E gave this to give away. We're also giving away her book, Now I See the Moon. And also from last night, the Dodger game, one of the souvenir baseballs
Autograph
that they gave
balls
away
with the piggy bank.
So sign up for the newsletter to win one of those three things. I know Coach E had just left and was in the green room. If you open up the mic, Emily, we can hear what it was that she wanted us to say. There was something she forgot to say. Okay, so we want to make sure that you know that the Miracle Project is for all abilities.
And that nonverbal children wrote the script for this all abilities.
Okay,
program. So it's going to be amazing that everybody's included.
You know, a lot of times people see things like this and they think, oh, well, that's for the kids who are verbal.
Or very high functioning.
Know that it's all inclusive.
The Miracle Project includes everyone.
So there you go. Okay. I'm glad that we got that in there. And we don't have a whole lot of time for anything else. I just want to say that we have some amazing We're both going to be at Stephanie's Day
this
on
weekend,
Saturday.
which we want to say that over at KCBS at the Radford Studios, it's Stephanie's Day, which has been an ongoing yearly event put on by Steve Malden, who has a daughter with autism. And Steve is a huge supporter of Act Today and one of our activist winners. We adore this man, and it's a great resource fair.
It is a great resource fair from 10 to 2.
Autism-live will be there. Act Today will be there.
And also, because we're not going to be here tomorrow doing a live show, I want to let you know what's happening on Tuesday, because it's a big, big show. On Tuesday, we are going to have Ed Asner and Matt Asner here.
him.
We're going to play a little poker on Tuesday live on the show, because Ed is doing a fundraiser where they're playing poker to raise money for autism. So he's going to be here talking with us about that. Matt Asner will be with us as well. We are also going to have Vicente King, who you might have seen on American Ninja Warrior. That he ran the course the other day.
You're having him on?
He and his mom will be, we're filming that with them on Friday, and they'll be on Tuesday. We'll show that on Tuesday.
How cool is
he
that?
And his mom, if you watched the other night on American Ninja Warrior, his mom was incredibly articulate, said some of the best sound bites about autism that I've seen on network television. So,
well, it's very
amazing.
inspiring. We're starting Riot jogging on Thursday. One of his therapists who's an avid runner, we're doing an ABA forum of teaching him to love running.
See, and we started Jem learning JavaScript. It's all like... And your husband said we have to get Wyatt doing more of the computer things with Jem, and Jem doing more of the physical things with Wyatt.
Okay, and there we have it. And they love each other.
They
so it's
do
fun.
love each other.
Wyatt's all excited at seeing Jem at Stephanie's Day.
Well, we're excited. We're going to be there. And if you're going to be anywhere in the Los Angeles area on Saturday, Stephanie's Day, the CBS backlot.
Come visit me and Shannon, because I want to tell you the happiest moments of our lives are when moms and dads come up to us and say what a difference you make. And we love you. So please come say hi.
We saw some people last night at Dodger Stadium, I'll have to tell you.
Okay.
Love the show. Anyway, we're out of time. We'll be back on Tuesday. Don't miss that show. It's going to be exciting. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me.
And give yourselves a hug from me.
Bye-bye for now.
Bye.